Welcome to video 2 of the Maintaining a Balance series. Today we're looking at the big idea of homeostasis. Again, BBC, please refer to this at the end of the video. We've got another 3 dot points in which this video is going to cover, and one of those is going to be why it's really important for our body to maintain a constant internal environment. And we're going to tie that into metabolism. We're going to look at the process of homeostasis, which is the process in which organisms maintain this constant internal environment. And then we're going to take a brief look at the process of homeostasis in the 2 stages which take place. For our organisms to function correctly, it needs to remain constant despite all the changes that are happening in the external environment. So whether that's got to do with temperature, pH, different amounts of chemicals, we're making sure that the internal environment remains within a constant range so that the functioning can occur how it needs to. It's crucial for our metabolism and also to ensure that all enzymes are able to function correctly. If we look at a few of the regulatory systems within our body that help to achieve this constant internal environment, we're looking at temperature regulation, we're looking at how we can control the chemical substances that are available to our cells, and we're also looking at how we can control water and salt balance, also referred to as osmotic balance, and pH and waste products. There are a few variables which are really important to maintain and regulate within our body. The first of that is pH and temperature. That is because at low temperatures, the water inside cells, so the cytosol and cytoplasm inside cells, can freeze. This can change the concentration of solutes, and it can also make the cell and organelles and the cell itself rupture if due to the expansion of the water. In high temperatures, enzymes and proteins denature. This can also disrupt the cell function and the metabolic activity that takes place within the cells. Metabolites. There are some metabolites that need to be present inside our body to make sure that chemical reactions occur. This is especially important for the creation of ATP, otherwise known as our energy, and that allows respiration to take place. Water and salt concentrations, again, another thing we need to regulate. That's because most chemical reactions take place in water within our cells, and we need to make sure that osmotic balance, so the balance between the water and salt within our cells, is maintained for these enzymes in our bodies to function correctly. And we also need to make sure that our bodies and cells are not built up with toxins or other types of waste, because that can block active sites of enzymes but also can alter the other variables which we've talked about already. The need to maintain this internal environment and the process by which this occurs is known as homeostasis, and it's a state of balance in the internal environments of organisms which allow them to function efficiently despite fluctuations in the external environment. We know as organisms we can't control the external environment, so we need to make sure that there are ways in which we can, despite not being able to maintain that external environment constancy, that we are able to change the way in which our internal environments deal with those changes. This happens in 2 essential steps. It happens by our body being able to detect the change, and then the second step is that our body has to try and counteract the change. So if we look here, over time, our body has a normal range in which, or a set point in which it functions correctly. At any point in time, our range can be above our set point or below our set point, but it always stays inside this normal range. We're going to look at how our body responds to changes which will take this curve outside of our normal range and how it can counteract those changes. The way in which this happens is through a negative feedback response. So feedback allows our body to return to within that set point or normal range in which we looked at. A negative feedback mechanism counteracts the change, which is why it's called a negative feedback system. Remember, we said our first step is to detect the change. So that means that our body has receptors which detect the stimulus that happens within inside our body. And then that stimulus is it can be anything within our body depending on what the receptor is going to pick up. So we can look at the levels of carbon dioxide, of oxygen, of water, waste, and temperature. And our receptors are sensitive cells or usually our sense organs. Step 2 is to counteract the change, in which we enlist the help of effector organs and they work to reverse the change. And this change is termed the response. The effector organs are muscles or glands within our bodies that help us bring us back to our normal range. Again, another video by the Amoeba Sisters. Make sure that you follow the link in the Google Classroom to have a look at that and revise the process of homeostasis. These are a few words we've just looked at to talk about homeostasis. Make sure you're using these to create your glossary and your flashcards. Otherwise, I'll see you in video 3 of maintaining a balance.